So let's welcome Steve and Don.
So, and thanks a lot thanks very much. Unfortunately, those long introductions, we've just run out of time. That's all the time we had for the whole workshop. So it's great for us to be here. We really thank you, and thanks for coming with such bad weather. Because there's so few of you, let's make sure we take the opportunity for you to really get the most out of this session. We were expecting a lot more, and that's totally cool that a lot of folks didn't come. It just means that you're going to get much more, so much more value than they do out of it. So make sure that you ask the questions that you want to get asked. There's a ton of brain power and experience between the two of us. Take this workshop whatever way you want to go, and we'll dive into some topics and make this as interactive as possible. So part of that interactivity is we've got 3 workshops planned for you. So you're going to get into groups and do some thinking. We're not going to just sit here and present to you. We're going to present some concepts and we're going to give you the opportunity to think them through on your own in groups and present them back to us. So it's going to be this. We're going to make you work, but I think it's going to be worthwhile for you. So urge you to get engaged. So let's get into it. So just a couple of slides. Here's what we're going to talk about. We were given the topic of strategy and operations for workshop, and so pretty broad topic. We can cover off a lot of things, but we thought that the most appropriate thing to do is to put ourselves in your minds as you're competing for this competition and other entrepreneur business plan competitions. What do you need to do to win this competition? So really, this presentation is answering the question, what do you need to do to have an edge? And all the better that it's just you in this small group, because now just by being here, you've got an edge against all of your other competitors. Okay? So take advantage of that. This is my 5th year judging adVentures. And I just came back from Queen's Entrepreneur Competition last weekend and judged there. So I know how judges think. I want to tell you how judges think about this, and I want to give you, and with Don's help, we're going to give you some key tools to really make your business plans winning business plans. Stuff that other students don't typically include in their business plans. Okay, so we're going to talk about winning business plans, some key tools, SWOT analysis. Who knows what a SWOT analysis is? Raise your hands. Okay, all? Okay, good. We're going to talk about different business models, goal setting and execution, and then we're going to finish off with financials. And that's one of the weakest pieces of adVenture's business plans that I've seen in these past years is the financial analysis behind the businesses. And so we'll walk you through that. Okay. So just to start, I have a hobby. I collect unique business models. I also am a terrible amateur photographer. And did anybody recognize this place? It's around the corner from here. It's on Queen Street. It's a photograph I took, Queen, just on the other side of the Don Valley Parkway. I love the name of this coffee shop. Now, I love it for a bunch of reasons. And I take photographs. I don't just take photographs for any old reason. I take them because I see a story and a business lesson in them. And so there's a couple of lessons that I want to share with you about this thing. Oh. The last guy had lights. The lights aren't that great. Let's dim the lights down a little bit just to get some clarity there. But it's a coffee shop, and what I like. So this talks about this. There's a business notion that says, and it's counterintuitive, but if you and your service or product appeal to as many people as possible, as broad a market as possible, then you will appeal to nobody, and you will not be successful. And the counterintuitive law of this side of business is the more niche that you can be, the smaller the niche marketplace you can appeal to, the more success you'll have. Now, the other side of that is if you can have a product or service that's divisive in its nature. So some people love it and some people hate it. Then you've got a winning product and service. My mother would hate to see this coffee shop. But what happens is the people that love it and are great customers. The people that hate it talk about it, and they get and the product or the service gets promoted. Make sense? Yeah. So here's a couple of other examples of some other products that are divisive. People love it or hate it. That's my favorite one. Okay, so now this is another picture from in front of my house. This is a van. It's Nico's sodding. This Nico sells sod. He sells grass. Now, I don't know if you can see with the light, not a great image, but what he did was he glued turf to the sides and the top of his, the sides at least of his van. So that's fake plastic grass. It's fake grass. So wonderful advertising. Everybody sees it. Everybody knows what kind of business he's in. Kind of creative. This is another photograph taken the same year in front of my house. And this is I had to get some painting done in the house, and I had College Pro painters come and give me a quote. And this is what the person from College Pro Painters drove up in. So here's the two. What lessons are there that you can derive from this? What do you think of comparing Nico's strategy, the perception that he's delivering to his marketplace, and College Pro person? Yeah.
It just seems sort of unfocused. It doesn't seem they both don't speak to the same business.
So they both don't. So College Pro is painting, and Nico is sod. Pardon me?
I'm sorry. I mean, in respect to that car and College Pro painting, I feel like that car there, the Jaguar doesn't speak to what the business does.
The Jag doesn't speak to what the business does. Absolutely. Others? Yeah.
Nico is making a reasonable profit, and Pioneer Pro is making an outrageous profit.
Nico is making a reasonable profit, and College Pro is making an outrageous profit. Absolutely. Yep.
Nico represents the brand. If you are your brand, you got to self-promotion, right? This one is kind of defeats the model. You're hiring a college student who shows up with JAG, so you don't really trust them as much.
Beautiful. So College Pro is not supporting the brand. Driving up in a Jag doesn't support the starving student brand. Isn't supporting the brand. Nico is supporting the brand. Okay. Now, so great comment. I presented a bigger part of this presentation at UW yesterday at the UW Entrepreneurship Society, and nobody got that. And that's one of the key messages from this is support of the brand. What other comments? So to your comment about profit, absolutely. I look at this, and as a potential customer, I say, why am I going to give this person money? This person is going to gouge me. I'm not going to accept a quote from this person if there's so much profit being made. So I think there's a profit issue. I think there's a branding, a disconnect between what she's delivering. Now, don't get me wrong. I mean, I absolutely respect this person's right to drive a Jag and be profitable. But don't put it in customers' face, right? Make sure that every action that you do in your business, no matter what it is, supports the brand. And we'll show you some stories. We'll share some other stories of companies that do that. Did you have another comment?
Did you still hire College Pro?
Not at all. No way. No way. Yeah, because there's not that one. Okay. So good one.
You don't know what I got.
Yeah. Okay. Great. So let's go back. So now we'll get into the more formal part of the presentation. We'll talk about winning business plans. So just a couple of comments on what judges are looking for, and some thoughts for you about how you want to create a winning business plan. So the judges are going to go through so there's going to be a few minutes of, I don't know what the format is, 10 minutes, what is it, 10 minutes and 5? 10 of presentation, 5 of questions when it comes to the final judging. So, and this is true also for the business plan. So I think there's lessons in the business plan part as well. But in the presentation side, the first thing, a few minutes of presentation and then followed by some questions and Q&A. When the Q&A starts, the judges are first thing they're going to do is they're going to be looking for clarity of your business. They're going to be asking you questions of understanding. You mean, if I get you right, you're going to be trying to get revenue in this way, and you're going to try to, your marketplace is this, and the product you're going to be offering is this. They're going to want to understand your business, what it is and how it works. Then they're going to start drilling into weaknesses. At Queens, there was a presentation done by a couple of guys from Duke about something to do with fish recycling. The first question that was asked was absolutely what got right to the heart of the weakness of the company. It was incredible to watch. One question blew up the company. It was fascinating. So be prepared for that, and maybe so they're looking for strengths and they're looking for weaknesses. They want to know what makes you unique, and they want to know where you may have what you may not have covered in your analysis. Did you have a question? What the question was? Okay, so fish recycling. So their business was a lot of fishing going on the west coast of Canada, and a lot of fish processing plants on the west coast of Canada. Those fish processing plants effectively throw out the wastes from the fish. They do the fillets, and then they throw out the waste. What these guys wanted to do was process the waste into there's already conversion to fertilizer, but there's also what they wanted to add to that was a processing of the waste to oils, fish oils, and then send it to China and sell it to China. That was kind of the fundamentals of their model. The question that the question that was asked was, what do the current fish processors do now with their waste? And that's what started unraveling things. And the answer was, well, they've got a processing plant already that processes the waste into fertilizer. So now they've got a much more difficult business. They've got to displace an existing plant that processes, and the plant is owned cooperatively by all of the fish processors. Right? It was quite an interesting conversation. And they did okay. They actually won one of the awards. They won the sustainability award of the competition. So that was just one piece. So I'm kind of over exaggerating when I say it unraveled things, but it was such a beautiful question. It really got to one of the key weaknesses. But they're looking for strengths and weaknesses. Be ready for it. And then the last thing that they're looking for is they want to gauge the depth. So now they've got an understanding of the business. They've found some, what makes it, what unique strengths you have, what weaknesses you might have, where there's the analysis falls apart. Now they want to understand the quality of your character and the preparation, the confidence, the depth of the analysis that you've done. And don't be afraid of that. You just do the work, you think it all through, maybe use some of the tools that Don and I are going to talk about today, and you'll be good. So don't be afraid of that. But know that they're looking at you as well for that. So what you can do is you can simplify your message. In one of the presentations that I judged, they spent, of the 10 minutes that they had to present, they probably spent 3 minutes telling the judges what QR codes are. They didn't need to do that. They could have said it in 5 seconds. All the judges, there's a certain level of assumption that you can give to, or you can assume that the judges have. I also suggest to you that don't spend a lot of time on defining what the marketplace is. You don't spend a lot of time thinking about or telling the judges about if it's a cab ride service, and I have no idea if any of you are doing a cab ride service. Don't tell us that there are 10,000 cabs with an average ridership of $200 or $500 a day, meaning a total market of $300 million, and just say cab ride services. The judges will get it. You don't have to start written different. Put it in the written piece. But when you start communicating in your final presentation, just put more effort on how you're going to implement your business, how it's going to be successful, not why. Ensure that the analysis is complete, and that goes back to strengths and weaknesses. Emphasize execution, and that's all about more how you're going to do the business, deliver, and execute, and less why. The judges will get the why very quickly. They've been around for a long time. They know a lot about a lot of different businesses. But how are you going to do it? And there's a famous quote from a friend of mine who's like not much older than you, who runs a company, a great entrepreneur, runs a company called Loose Button now. Ray or Aditya? Okay. So Ray, sorry, was Daniel? Okay, I know Ray and Aditya. I think those are the two. So Ray's great. Ray says, there's ideas come. There's thousands of ideas. It's how you implement those ideas, and that's what the judges are looking for. Great implementation, and analyze the financials. understand do your pro formas, do your income statements and balance sheets, and understand where, how you're going to make a profit, understand your cash flows, and present some of that. In the written stuff, absolutely, and in the presentation as well. Show us where you're going to make money and how. And Don's going to walk you through a great little workshop on that. Okay, next. So SWOT analysis. So this is just another take on strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. We're gonna look at this again. I'm just thinking out loud that if they all know this, maybe we just skip through that workshop and go right into. You think, just in terms of timing?
Whatever you have to do, but it never hurts for them to go through it.
Yeah. Okay. Pardon me? Okay. So let's not go through that. Okay. So you're going to get out a bit earlier. So now we're going to go into, well, I'm going to show you a couple things anyways. We were going to...
Is anybody not, everybody kind of went like this. Is anybody not sure what SWOT analysis is and what value it will bring? Go ahead and speak up, please.
Now's the time.
Now's the time. There you go. So why don't you just do the 30 seconds so that we
Okay.
Since he came today, he didn't come last time.
Okay, so does anybody want to take a shot and explain to him?
Okay, so SWOT analysis, SWOT stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And what this analysis is supposed to do is supposed to analyze your internal and external strengths and weaknesses. So externally, what factors in your environment might present an opportunity for your company, and which might present threats such as regulatory things like that. And internally, you identify your strengths and weaknesses, which you gain from those strong employees and actions
So let me take that when we were just talking about and take a step further. We were just talking about fish processing plant. What was the opportunity and threat for the fish processing plant? Anybody? What's the opportunity?
The opportunity is that there's a lot of fish waste and transfer.
Right? So you're taking waste and you're going to do something. You're going to take something that nobody else wants and you're going to try and do something with it. What's the threat though?
The threat is that there's processing plants that already turned into fertilizer.
Somebody else has already thought of this, right? So that's a threat. That doesn't put you out of business, but you better understand it, right? Okay, so let's do the intro. Let's talk about the strengths for a second. Let's say that you're going to do a fish processing plant, and your expertise is that you've got a relationship with every fisherman coming down the coast, but you don't know anything about accounting. Okay, you can hire an accountant, right? As long as you can solidify the relationship with all the guys that are down the coast. So that's an example of the strength and weakness.
Yeah.
So that's the SWOT analysis.
Yeah. So what's important from the competition perspective is that the judges, this SWOT analysis is part of their DNA. When they're looking at companies, they're thinking about SWOT all the time. It's aside from finance, it's one of the main things that they look at. Right? They just think about strengths. What's the strengths of this company, the weaknesses, the opportunities, and the threats, and more importantly, how has the business plan responded and analyzed those four different qualities? They think about it reflexively. Okay. So I'm still going to go through. We're going to show you a couple of companies. I'm still going to go through this because I think that their stories are good and they might give you some ideas about how to structure your business. This is Little Mismatched. Anybody a customer of Little Mismatched? So what they do is they sell mismatched socks online, and they sell to young girls 4 to 12, and these young girls go to school and they run in and they say, look, and they show their friends, look what I'm wearing. Look what I'm wearing. And it's very viral, and they want it. But here's what's unique about Little Mismatched. They don't sell 2 socks. They sell 3. So now, all their customers have 3 pairs of mismatched socks, and not just 1 pair of mismatched socks. But more importantly to the business, instead of a $5 average transaction, it's an $8 average transaction for very little incremental cost. Wonderfully unique. Great outside of the box thinking. I had to put my jacket back on because I knew the sock was in there. Okay, here's another one. This is, anybody use Dollar Shave Club? So this is a company that is disrupting the Gillette men's razor business. The way Gillette makes money is they sell razors at a loss or break even, and then they sell blades at a massive profit. And because you still have to consume constantly blades. These guys are selling mostly they're selling just the blades, $10 a month, $10 a month, $12 a month, and they and you receive blades to your door. So I wanted to bring up. Oh wait, hang on. Yeah. So okay. So your comment about brand and Nico and brand is really incisive. One of the things that you want to really consider is the brand that you're presenting. So when you look at that homepage for the landing page for Little Mismatched, it appealed. It supported the brand. It appealed to the 4-year-old to 12-year-old girl. Look at this is live. This is hopefully it all works. This is the live homepage for Dollar Shave Club. And I just wanted to hear, so you land there.
Hi, I'm Mike, founder of DollarShaveClub.com. What is DollarShaveClub.com? Well, for $1 a month, we send high-quality razors right to you.
Oh, great. Oh, come on.
You gotta read those first.
Yeah. I know. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Everybody should just sell like gardening tools.
It's so funny. Anything you do that's beyond just a static PowerPoint slide is risk. And this I've broken my own cardinal rule. I just do simple slides. No animation, nothing, and it still screws up.
Hi, I'm Mike, founder of DollarShaveClub.com.
Thank you.
What is DollarShaveClub.com? Well, for $1 a month, we send high-quality razors right to your door. Yeah, $1. Are the blades any good? No. Our blades are great. Each razor has stainless steel blades, an aloe vera lubricating strip, and a pivot head. It's so gentle it's hot to use it. And do you like spending $20 a month on brand name razors? 19 go to Roger Federer. I'm good at tennis. And do you think your razor needs a vibrating handle, a flashlight, a back scratcher, and 10 blades? Your handsome-ass grandfather had 1 blade and polio. Look good, Papa! Stop paying for shit things you don't need. And stop forgetting to buy your blades every month. All 100 now are going to ship right to you. We're not just selling razors, we're also making new jobs. Alejandro, what were you doing last month? What are you doing now? Vanderbilt. This train makes head. So stop forgetting to buy your blades every month and start deciding where you're going to stack all those dollar bills I'm saving you. We are DollarShaveClub.com, and the party is on.
Okay. How do I switch that off? What's that? Yeah, fabulous. So, look at the brand and how it supports the brand, and look at the kind of the customer that they're targeting. And most importantly about brand, it's not just how it presents itself like Nico or Dollar Shave Club, but everything the company does, all aspects of the company, customer service, the shipping, whatever it is, needs to support the brand. And I tell you, if you put some thought to your brand and communicate to the judges about branding to this kind of degree, that helps you make a winning presentation. Let's keep going. So what we were going to do was so I'm not sure what, maybe we can do, the workshop we were going to do was we were going to divide you into groups. Each of you take one of these companies, organizations, and you go onto the blackboard and put a SWOT analysis. So maybe we can use one of those. Maybe we can do a SWOT analysis just as a group and go through maybe RIM, research in motion. So strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. Shout them out. Actually, what about, I thought U of T would be interesting, but let's not go there. That might not be a good thing. So what strengths does RIM have today? Now we're talking about RIM, particularly today, which is an interesting day for RIM. Apple just went down 12% yesterday because of bad sales of the iPhone 5. RIM is is leading up to the BlackBerry 10. Not yet, but I don't know if that's a strength. So let's just repeat it. Let's repeat it for the group. So you said, I don't want to laugh at you. Sorry. You said they have a strength that they've bottomed out so much.
They were sort of deep down for a while.
Just as a marker, and I'm really good at this business analysis stuff.
He's not that good.
Forget about the value of the company. Because the value of the company is dependent upon the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So don't worry about where the stock price is. What is it? What's the strength or weakness? What is the strength or weakness of research in motion? Yeah.
Patents,
right? Intellectual property. The strength of a lot of companies in today's marketplace is what they own in terms of patents, because those can be applied to a revenue stream. What else? What other strengths?
Strengths or weaknesses or opportunities, threats, through show them out.
They have tons of capital. They have lots of money in the bank, right? So they have the flexibility to do all kinds of things. They can get out of the phone business today and still be one of the most valuable companies on the planet. They can just shut down the phone business.
The weakness or the phone market is becoming really saturated in the past 2 weeks.
Right. Yeah. So there's lots of players. So that's a weakness, right? Like, okay, so what if BlackBerry 10 is the best phone on the planet? Is it going to matter? Who knows? Everybody's got a nice phone now. Not one of you probably has a cheap phone. You probably all got a smartphone. Anyways, okay, so next, what other?
One of the main weaknesses is vision.
Vision?
Vision itself.
Oh, you're saying one of the weaknesses is their vision?
Major weaknesses will be the vision.
Okay.
They don't have any vision.
Right, and here's a really important point. You just said that the weakness is one of the weaknesses is their vision, and there's probably just as many people who think that's the weakness as it's a strength. Okay? There's no right answer to that, right? But if you think it's a weakness, all you have to do is illuminate what's weak about it. And let's take this back to your business plan, as you guys are working for your business plan. If you understand you have a weakness, every business has a weakness. What are you doing about it, right? So it's not a big deal if they have this weakness. It's a really good one to come up with. Hold on one second.
The weakness is that it's harder to develop a platform compared to the other smartphones.
Excellent. Yeah, good. What about...
Now, is that true? Is it hard to develop, or is it not commercially viable? Are you saying the technology is not a good technology? Okay. So weakness.
Unix is based on Unix. That's an interesting point. Okay, so what about we've talked a little bit about threats. Well, I don't think we've talked about an opportunity yet. Anybody have an opportunity they might have? What's an opportunity that RIM has in the marketplace? We've talked that they have a nice balance sheet. That's a really good strength. Is there any opportunities that come from that strength or from any other strength, really?
Still big in preservation.
Huge, right?
Corporate, massive corporate.
A lot of corporates are doing BYOD now.
Yeah, BYOD is certainly a threat.
Interestingly, I would say one of the strengths is their install base, right? They have massive numbers of users, and that's still an opportunity for them if they can convert them.
Yeah, Obama as a brand, Obama being the user and insisting on a BlackBerry is a great story to tell.
But it might be a strong opportunity, but they have Canada still root for them.
Trivial, right?
Canada's, so for those of you who didn't hear, Canada's still rooting for RIM.
Yeah, and police. Anything else? Do you see how where this goes, though? I mean, you can come up with anything, right? You can come up with anything and turn it into a strength, weakness, opportunity, or a threat. You just have to be able to eliminate it. Did you have something? I can see that hand starting to move. No?
Well, I mean, they do have a lot of cash for themselves. I mean, it's still possible for them to invest in a lot of other things that, if they see it,
Yeah, and again, I think that's one of the best points. If you're an investor, there are some companies out there that are bought out just because they have good management, right? I'm not sure RIM qualifies there over the last few years, but let's say that they had a great management team and lots of cash, but their product was terrible. Somebody would come along and say, hey, well, why don't you go build this, right? So we're going to come to that in a little bit in a second when we talk about how companies get revenue.
Yeah, your comment about the difficult to develop. There's a flip side to that in terms of an opportunity, and that is that there are fewer application vendors, third-party application vendors in the RIM ecosphere, or the ecosystem. Sorry. So because of that, there's less competition for a third-party vendor to come in and deploy an appropriate app to that platform. Whereas if they went to Android or to iOS, there's so much competition that they could be lost in the crowd. So strategically, third-party vendors of applications could decide to go there. It could be an opportunity for RIM.
Any others?
Playbook integration, new other.
Security. Does anybody think about security? Right? They're the
Big
only
time.
ones that basically guarantee that your messages are secure. Apple, anybody can do that crap. So stop talking to your girlfriend.
Yeah. So, and to Don's point, what you want to do is think about your own business and think about starting the SWOTs and how do you counteract? How do you think through? You don't have to say much in your business plan. You don't have to say much but if you can prove that you've thought these things through, big points with the judges.
I'm going to bring TV to light here. We all hear on TV shows, what's the problem? Oh, it's not a problem. It's an opportunity. When you're seeing that in the entertainment sphere, it just sounds kind of tacky. But in the business sphere, it's the way you got to think every single day, right? Okay, I got a problem. What am I going to do about it? Okay, maybe fixing it can actually be a benefit for you instead of a problem. And there's lots of good examples of that. Most of you are aware of what happened in the business world in 2008, 2009 when the financing world fell apart, right? Well, that financing world was created because people couldn't figure out how to sell high-value products. So what they did is they started financing people's sales of high-value products. They took a business problem. Oh, we can't get enough customers because we can't get people to finance it. Found a solution, which was in-house financing. Of course, it blew up in the end, but that's, it's back to kind of normal now. So every time you see a problem in your business, it can become an opportunity to grow it and consolidate your ideas.
Okay, so we've done the 20-minute workshop. Perfect. Okay, so now we're going to talk about business models. We're going to talk a few stories from here. We're going to do a workshop on different types of business models, and specifically how do you generate revenue, different types of revenue generation depending on the business. So just wanted to walk you through. So, we kind of talked about this with the Gillette, the razor, and the blade. But how does HP make their money? Somebody want to? Pardon me?
So they basically sell printers very cheaply, and they actually come off the price of market.
Right. Sell the printers cheaply, break even or maybe less, make all their money. 93% margins on ink. It's crazy. It's crazy.
I just ordered a disc from HP last week for a laptop that we lost. And they shipped it from the U.S., they told me, and I paid $48 for that disc because it was going to be shipped from the U.S. So it was actually manufactured at less than 5 miles from my house. And I paid $48 for shipping. So I haven't said anything because you know what? It's all I need that disc. It got to me within 24 hours. Right? They knew they had it as soon as I signed up and said I need a disc. They knew they had it. But there's how a company like this turns a business problem into money. Right? Very, very quick. I need that disc now. And the only place I can get it was from them. Just because I ordered it from the U.S. They ship it from Canada for maybe 20. Yeah.
The price of ink doesn't go down like they're selling competitors like selling.
Oh, that's a great question. Why doesn't the price of ink go down if it's a 93% margin? There's tons of that. You go to the average shopping mall, And you can get the refill place in the middle of the little island, right? Why doesn't the price go down?
They have an agreement between themselves, kind of like the refineries.
No, they're selling you something. What are they selling you? What are they selling? I'm going to come back to this. I'm going to come back to this later. What are they selling?
They're selling
Brand, but they're selling something that's even more about your business must have this component. What is it that you have to sell? Ecosystem? No. Guarantee. Trust. Whose ink are you going to put in your $500 printer? Are you going to put that $12 ink in? Our $70 ink is guaranteed not to blow up and turn your printer into a pile of dust. They're selling you trust. Good question. Excellent question.
But yet, is there a market to compete against that, right? Can you?
Absolutely. So if you did a SWOT analysis on all the different ink refill guys, there's guys in those kiosks making money. They're making money. It's not as much as
So here's another business model. This is Ray, Loose Button. And I'm going to pass by this. Their business, real quick, their business model is they make money from subscriptions once a month. Customers pay them to get this box. They also get money from the suppliers of the samples. Okay, so really nice. They make money while they sleep, and nice way of making money on the internet. This is the winning business plan from the Queen's Entrepreneur Competition last week. Two guys from University of Chicago, and does anybody know by chance what that is? What product that is? Yeah, I've told you. Would you go ahead?
Is it for like research?
Yeah, it's storing. It's where they store mice for research. So there's like 1,000 mice can be in that one rack. So each of those boxes have 1 to 5 mice, and some of these research facilities have 30,000 mice that they're keeping track of. and I actually coincidentally toured the facility at Mars. They have 2 or 3 rooms that have thousands of mice in them. Just did that back in November, and it's fascinating. But they track all these mice on Excel spreadsheets or little pieces of paper, Post-it notes, and little notes that are clipped onto each of the boxes. That's how they track it. Unbelievable. So these guys now have an iPad app, and it's beautiful. You press on a mice graphically on one box, and it shows you the lineage of the mouse, and it points to where the parents are and the grandparents, which is important in this kind of research. They also aggregate the data from other labs to determine things like when is a mouse going to give birth, when is a mouse going to die. So they can say, okay, within a day, the mouse in this box is going to die. You better pull it out. Fantastic. Beautiful business, SaaS-based, cloud-based. So it's all subscription-based. They say, 30,000 mice could cost $300,000 to maintain every year, and these guys can save this facility 20% with the iPad app.
One of the things that's really important about that conversation, I know a little bit about biotech, and we're talking about mice here, right? How many people here think about mice, right? You don't. But to a researcher with those mice, they might have spent 5 years or 10 years planning, designing a mouse. That lineage that he was talking about is a business problem for these people.
They said it's a $4.5 billion business.
Exactly.
Mice.
So if you want to do cancer research, or you want to do research on heart disease or whatever, you're going to grow your mice and do all this lineage stuff. Now, the important thing here, the point that I'm coming to, is you had to understand that there was a business that had millions or billions of dollars lined up on that problem, right? I hate to tell you all you university students, but that's what you used to do for the summer, right? In the summer, you used to spend your summer at university making your $400 a week or whatever, moving mice around, making sure that they stayed alive and feeding them or whatever. This guy's just taking away that business because he understood that it was costing them at universities hundreds of thousands of dollars a year to keep those students moving through those mice.
Yeah.
So that's the business problem.
Yeah, and the business model is it's a recurring revenue stream. Monthly, they make money. It's absolutely SaaS.
Well, I think you take that a step further. The information provided about those mice, that's incredible.
Oh.
They are the aggregate method and using to be able to then sell
Not to sell, just so you can keep track.
Yeah, and the beautiful.
Is the important part.
Yeah, and the beautiful thing is, is what can they do with the aggregation of all this data? If they've got 1,000 labs all inputting this data, how much value is that aggregation of data that they can spit back to each individual customer?
So are they themselves mining that data?
I don't know anything about this business actually.
Yeah, there's legalities and there's some conditions that they have to do that.
Just along the same line, there's an interesting fire in New York last month, I think it was.
Oh,
Monkeys.
it was Sandy. Oh, well, I thought.
No, this wasn't Sandy related. There was a fire. Monkeys died. $12 million worth of research. And I think it was 17 years gone. Okay. This kind of data can save a business like that, right?
Yeah, great point.
Instead of sending out those rats.
Yeah.
Yeah. Same.
Yeah, it was one of these. It was one of these labs. Okay, no problem. I was going to tell you another story from that I think is interesting about innovative ideas and thinking on the sales and marketing side. Came from another competitor at Queens, and he was doing a mobile app that was kind of a B2C app. It was a consumer app for concerts. It really doesn't matter what the app was, but the way he had thought through how to bring virality to his business was really interesting. He had set up for every user of his app, anybody that downloaded his app got a custom-made QR code. And that QR code, the user could then go on and say, I got this great app. Here, scan my QR code and you can get one too. And you get that. You get your own QR code. But I get a point for referring you. And I gather points and I get stuff, shirts or whatever it is, right? I gather points. And I can also take it to a point where I can print a poster with my QR code and put the poster up, and anybody that scans the poster and downloads. So, really well thought out, kind of simple way of implementing kind of a networking effect, a network effect to the distribution, the rollout, the awareness of this product. Really smart. So when you say to when you describe in your business plan that your marketing consists of, you're going to tweet, you're going to build a Facebook page, and you're going to put some posters around campus. That's not enough. And you're going to get 100,000 users in the first 30 days. Well, that's not enough. If you're going to get 100,000 users or 1 million users, think through a little deeper about how exactly are you going to do that. Put some thought to it. Okay, next one. Big Viking Games, Albert Lau out of London. Some great innovation there. I'm not going to talk about the innovation, and we can chat about it afterwards. But so he runs a business developing games, online games, and his model is free to play, which means you can play for free and you can get more ammo, more awards, and you pay for that. Another different model, different approach to bringing in revenue. Because a lot of the judges are going to ask the question, well, how are you going to make money? So these are examples of different ways of making money. I'm going to talk about Ceridian and ADP. I'll skip over in the interest of time. I'll skip over the other two. But does anybody know what kind of business? Ceridian and ADP are in the same business. Do you know what business they're in? And do you know how they make money? The story here, warning, is you're going to answer the question, but how they make money or how companies make money is not immediately obvious in a lot of cases. So go ahead.
I actually don't know the first one. I do know ADP.
Okay.
And basically, they do the paychecks for companies. So they offer a free online service to the managers, and they do all the workers' hours. The company then pays ADP the money.
Okay, so hold on. Stop that one because I want to make sure everybody heard the first part. So ADP and Ceridian are payroll processors. So they go to TD Bank. TD has 40,000 employees. TD does not. They would spend a lot of money just processing payroll, figuring out who wants direct deposit, who wants a check. And everybody gets paid every 2 weeks on midnight on Thursday. It costs a lot for companies to do that because of economies of scale. ADP and Ceridian can offer this payroll processing. It's an outsourcing play. They can offer it at a cheaper rate. Carry on.
My understanding of what ADP does is they do not charge anything for their service. They basically say, okay, give me we've done the payroll. Now give us the money and we'll transfer it to the bank. And basically they hold that money for a week and they make their money off the interest from the money they're holding for that week. And because there's millions of customers and millions of dollars sitting in this bank account, they just make all the money off the interest.
Everybody get that?
Yeah.
Everybody hear that? That's exactly how they would make money. It's break even. It's not free processing. They pay it at break even, and it's like a 2-day float. Yeah. So they tell TD, you got to have your we have to have your money for payroll 2 days before midnight on Thursday, and it's that 2-day window that they then invest that float and make money off of. That's how they make money. Awesome. Okay, great. Thank you. Awesome. Okay, so let's do. Dawn's going to lead you through another workshop, and this one's worth it.
Okay. So along the lines of how does AP and Surety make money, what I want you guys to do, maybe we'll do 3 groups, and for each groups, I want you to pick a product, a service, or an information provider. A product might be something like a car manufacturer or a bookseller or something like that. Service might be a cleaning business or an accounting business, something like that. Information might be a newspaper or website. Okay, something that people are delivering, and figure out how does the company make money. It doesn't have to be complicated. This is not a trick question. What we have seen, what Steve particularly has seen, is that when you get into business competitions, you're not able to explain how you're actually going to make money. And so, without being tricky or trying to find another surety or AP, if you were making cars or selling books, or if you were cleaning or accounting, how would you make money? So, why don't we do it this way? You form one group, the rest of you on this side. You're in the front, so we'll hit you in the back of the head or something. When Steve and I were talking about, what do we get them to do, I insisted that we break up information because everybody today wants to have a website where they're selling some sort of information, but people don't think of them as separate things. But we're going to force you to think about them separately by starting with information. What kind of information are we talking about, and how does a company make money by selling information? How do you make money by selling information? What do you sell?
Well, first, information is tangible. So I think you can actually sell it to another platform using product as the means of transferring, or the information becomes the product itself. Right?
So you've hit 2 very big business opportunities, right? One is the information is a subset of the product or service. A good example we've already gone over is BlackBerry, BBM, right? You're not actually selling information, you're selling a conduit for information as part of a product. So there's an information example. Another one would be selling the actual information on the web. What's a good example of information on the web? Anybody? Did you guys come up with a really good example of information over the web?
Anybody else?
Global Mail, right? Newspapers, exactly. A very simple newspaper. But there are companies that have made billions selling information over the web. Global Mail is a moderately successful business, right? Newspapers are mostly money losers. Can anybody give an example of a great, really, really wealthy business that sells information over the web primarily? Google doesn't. No, Google sells something completely different. But it's interesting. Everybody thinks they're selling information, but they're not. But not stock exchange, but you're getting close. Business information. Bloomberg is probably the richest information provider, and in Canada, who's the Canadian equivalent? Anybody? Thompson family? Anybody heard of the Thompson family? Second richest, or they're now the richest people in Canada? They sell information. Thomson Reuters Corporation. Okay, you guys pull up Reuters news service once in a while on the web, right? Thomson Reuters. Is it R-E-U-T-R-S? Yes, they bought. It used to be a UK company bought by the Thomson family here in Toronto.
So what's cool about Thomson, though, the other cool thing is that they did a pivot. You've probably heard in entrepreneurial terms what a pivot is, changing the strategy of their business mid-flight. A lot of young entrepreneurial businesses will do that. They figure, the direction we're taking isn't the right direction. We've got to pivot to a slightly different direction. Thomson, if you'd have seen the Thomson Company 25 years ago, they were newspapers. And they figured it out. They saw what was coming. They saw digital. And they don't own newspapers anymore. They've sold all their newspapers, and they are a complete data. They sell data. They sell information. So like, what? Give me some examples of what kind of data does Thomson?
Well, Thomson Reuters sells most of the business data you see on the web. So if you did a search for RIM on Yahoo, a lot of that data about their size of their business, how many stock, how many shares they have outstanding, all that information is coming from Thomson or another competitive company. But that's an example. And I'd like to come back to a second ago. We talked about selling information as part of a product. Another company that you might not recognize in this space is called Disney. Okay, Disney sells movies. They make a lot of money off movies. They make some money off of their parks too, but they make a lot of money off of movies. Very high profit margin, all based on a character down in Florida by the name of right.
That should be stuffed in one of those rat boxes.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So I don't want to. Excellent that you come up with some things there. That's great. We're going to move on because we're just at time-wise. But you can see that the information itself becomes valuable when it's separated out from all these other things. If you can figure out the business model that literally separates the information from the methods, from the users, and so on and so forth. One of the things that I was hoping you guys would come up with, and I'm going to just give this another 30 seconds, is that sometimes it's really expensive to get that information. Okay, and newspapers with newspapers, that's the reason why they don't make any money. Everybody here probably knows that the Globe and Mail has now gone to pay model, right? They've got a pay whatever they call it, a pay window. The reason is because it costs a lot of money to put a reporter on the street and make phone calls and have a research team behind them and all those other things. And they're getting that information away for free, right? So getting the information can sometimes be very, very, very difficult. Now, you brought up Google. Google's a good example. They make their money by selling advertising. They don't make their money by selling information, okay? But the interesting thing is that they're getting you to provide information for free so that they can sell advertising when somebody looks for the information that you're providing for free, right? Everybody, is anybody here, does it develop a web page? Did you put Google search information in the front of that web page so that way Google can spider your site? You're making them a lot of money. Thank you very much, right? They've made themselves so important that they want you to want to be on their website. And as soon as you go on their website, they take all that information that you've given and they get other people to pay them so that they can look at your information. Pretty cool. That's why their company is now worth, I don't know what it's worth now, $300 billion. Yeah. Okay. So let's move to
but a couple of comments. So Google, the way they charge, down to brass tacks, the way they charge is by on advertising generally is by clicks, right? Is you click through. Yeah. Yeah. AdWords is per click. Thomson Reuters is you might be charging Reuters or Thomson might be charging their customers a monthly fee for a certain amount of data. Yeah, so monthly subscriptions, or it's a charge $1.50 an article, whatever it might be. So there's all kinds of different ways to charge.
And they might use multiple of those too. When you're doing your business plan, you don't have to have one way to make money. You can have many ways to make money. You can probably only do one as a startup. But you can have many ways to make money. And the more opportunities you have to make money, the more the judges are going to love your business. Right? If you have multiple opportunities, you may only want to implement one, but if you have multiple opportunities, it's a better business judge. Okay, so let's move on to...
I got one more comment.
Okay.
Just an interesting statement I heard the other day, or read the other day, was when you're on the internet, you're either looking for a product or you're the product.
And if you're not paying for a service,
you are the product. Yeah.
Okay, so service business. What are some service business ideas and how do they make money? Their service, your product. Uh-oh.
So tell us,
okay.
Go ahead. That's all right.
Well, let's start with these guys. How do people make money with the service? Go ahead.
Well, something we came up with were there's the database advertising model, where you buy services, others pay for advertise with you. There's a sponsorship model.
How's the sponsorship model work?
It's largely the same that you get money from a third party. However, it's generally by adding another brand to your service that complements your service.
So you're taking, and how are you making your money? You're taking a piece off the top.
I'm getting my money from the system.
Okay, so
To the sponsor.
to the sponsor. Okay.
What's an example? What's an example of
Yeah, I think that's usually a skimming model where you're taking a piece of, I'm going to try and give an example of I thought my brain and our brain work at the same time. But generally what's happening there is you're finding a product or service that you want to sponsor on, if you want to be the sponsor for your website or something, somebody else has it. You're going to push it through and take a piece off, cut off the top. And Amazon would be a good example of that, right? Amazon doesn't make books, they don't make carpets, they don't make computers. All they're doing is giving you an outlet to provide your product or service to their customers, and they're taking a piece off the top. Okay, Groupon is a really good example of one of those as well. Okay, so what else? What other ones?
Well, you guys are there's a unit of cost per time, so it's actually charged per unit of
And
time.
what's an example of that?
Paying the guy to take care of your lawn.
Yeah.
$1 an hour.
Okay.
Then there's a fee paid per use per job, so I'll pay this much to do my lawn, regardless of how many hours it takes.
Yeah.
We also have a subscription model, so where you can pay on an ongoing basis.
Yeah.
Do that. And
Okay. So one of the key characteristics of a typical service business is that you got to cover your costs. So if you're doing a business plan that relates to a service, always make sure you always have to make sure that your service, the cost of your whatever it is you're providing, is covered first, and then you make a margin on top of that. Okay. So if you're let's see, what do we have up there? Do we have a service? Oh, Deloitte. Your Deloitte consulting. You're going to hire out your consultants at $200 an hour, okay? And you're going to pay them $100 an hour. And the other 100 goes to your management fees, your overhead, your profit, and so forth. You've got to make sure that's covered. If it's not covered, you're out of business within a month. You're out of business within a year for sure, okay? So in all situations, the service business has to cover their costs with their basic fees and then the top, whatever the top that is your profit. Okay? There's lots of different service businesses. Everything from dry cleaners, which is essentially a service, house cleaning, accounting, lawyers. You guys have a lawyer just before us, right? In here, he's charging you per hour, whether you like it or not. Okay, so make your conversation short, right? Because he's charging you per hour, and so forth. Okay, so what about a product? You got lots of product companies up here. How do product companies make money? Which product company? You guys are going to do grocery gateway, right? So how does that look like?
we talked about a couple of different sure.
Okay.
We discussed they either negotiate one of those and walk them and reduce their markup so they can buy that and then the delivery on top. Or maybe it's just the delivery fee.
Would you be surprised to know that Longo's owns Grocery Gateway?
I would be surprised.
Okay. Well, Longo's owns Grocery Gateway. Why did they buy Grocery Gateway?
Because they do well with their business.
No, actually the opposite. They wanted to differentiate themselves. Their product is actually a service. Grocery provision is actually a service. So, in essence, it's Grocery Gateway is really a service, right? You're ordering groceries and that's all it is. But Longo's wanted to expand their customer base. And instead of putting in 100 stores or 200 stores to compete with Loblaw, we can go buy Grocery Gateway for $20 million. We can put up 20 stores for $20 million. And then we can deliver the groceries wherever people want. We don't even have to charge more because we don't have to pay for more refrigerators. We don't have to pay for more staff. We don't have to pay all that stuff. All we have to do is deliver the groceries and charge the same amount.
So how would a third party delivery go about it? Like St. Lawrence Market, for example, has a company that will deliver food from St. Lawrence Market, but it's not all of it.
Right. So it's a very good question because what happens normally is, we're going to go back to SWOT analysis, right? If all of a sudden you can get grocery delivery from one or two or three other people, and you're St. Lawrence Market, what do you offer at St. Lawrence Market? Right? High end or low end or whatever. You're offering artisanal foods. How do you differentiate yourself if nobody's coming to see you? Well, one way to differentiate yourself is say, well, I'm going to deliver this stuff. Who's taking the margin? The delivery guy. The delivery guy. Or your product is so good that people are willing to pay. How many people here pay to have pizza delivered? Right? We all have paid to have have pizza delivered. Pizza always sucks. It's its own food group, and we have to eat it regularly. But why are we paying for it? Because we don't want to get off our butt, go to the store, get things, right? So there you get into a SWOT analysis. What's the benefit of going to do something, and what's the benefit of the cost? I have this conversation. I have 2 children. They're both PhD, and they know everything, right? To them, my son will pay my daughter $5 a day to clean his room because I pay him $10 a day to clean his room. Right? I'm trying to tell him that's not a good approach, but he's doing the math. I don't know. The $5 isn't worth that much to me, but the $10 is worth a lot. Okay, so you're going to, when you're doing your business plan, you're going to come up with the same kind of numbers. You're going to say, well, what's the value of that? And I'm going to come back to another point I made a few minutes ago. Let's say you have a business where you're really good at fish processing, but not so good at hire an accountant. Just be really good at fish processing so you can pay the accountant. Right? Make sure your business is big enough to hire the special needs that you have to make your business successful. So in your business plan, we're going to come to this in a few minutes when we get to some of the financial side, but make sure that in your execution you can afford the things you need to continue to be successful for longevity. Let's talk about process divide. Let's expand a little bit. Let's talk about somebody who makes. Let's take something that's obvious. A car. How does somebody make money selling cars? How does GM make their money? Does anybody know how GM makes their money? General Motors. How do they make their money?
Manufactured parts for less than they can sell them for.
Absolutely not. Anybody else? Anybody? They make money off of financing. They make all their money by giving you a lease or a loan to buy a car. That's why they went bankrupt. Nobody wants their cars. No. It's a little different now. Now that they've gone bankrupt and gotten rid of all their debt, they're actually making money by making cars again. But no, the majority of their money. How does GE make most of their money? Anybody? General Electric, the second or third largest corporation in the world. They finance them. 40% of their business to this day is still financing. Right? How do banks make their money?
So, I'm not a finance guy, and so I'll explain for those of you who are not finance guys, what financing kind of means in a real high, very high level layman's terms. If I've got a car that's worth $50,000, instead of me laying out saving $50,000 and paying $50,000 in cash, the financing arm will allow me to pay them $500 a month, and my net. So over 5 years, I'll pay $500 a month. Net is I'll be actually pay $60,000 rather than $50,000, but I don't have to put $50,000 out right away. And so they make their money on that $10,000 spread. That's kind of the simple way. Another example, a cool example, is American Airlines. Well, I'll do American, you do Cineplex. So American Airlines, how do they make their money? They make their money through a subsidiary called Sabre, which is a data repository of all flights from all airlines all around the world. And Expedia, Travelocity, travel agents, bricks and mortar travel agents access the information on Sabre for a fee, to execute their transactions. And they make money off of every transaction, no matter what airline the ticket is with. They make money on the transaction. They'll only make payment or pennies a transaction, but it adds up when they've got a monopoly on every transaction on every airline. That's how they make their money.
Who knows how Cineplex makes their money? Anybody? Popcorn. They don't make any money on it. Never have. Not in the last 15 years. They don't make money on movies. They make money by selling you a drink of popcorn for $25.
There was a recent newspaper article we just said they raised their ticket prices by $2 or something like that, double their profits.
Yeah.
In the last.
I don't follow it that closely, but I know that the movie business is dying, and they don't make money. As a matter of fact, for those of you who like the ADX and the 3D movies, most of their profit is coming from selling you those upgrades, the $3 upgrade to AVX and 3D and so on and so forth, prearranged CDs and so forth. So anyways, the point of all this is to force you to think through, how is your business going to make money? Because what you may think is the coolest thing on the planet may not actually be the way you need to make money, right? If anybody here wants to have a video game business, there's always a video game business. Come on, no video game business. Okay, for a lot of video game businesses, it's not the video game itself. It's advertising, or it's the buy-up of ammunition or whatever. If it's the local restaurant, you might not make money off of the food. You might make money off of the beer, right? So this is why you have to get a liquor license, because they figured this out over 30 or 40 years ago. So whatever your business is, how are you really going to make money? What is it that differentiates you from your competitors that you can put a premium price on that benefit and make your money? The rest of it is just free. And the word ecosystem has come up a few times.
I'm guilty of that. I think I said that.
Yeah, you said it once or twice. But I think other people here talk about it. Apple, Microsoft, IBM, they've created ecosystems. Google has created an ecosystem. Amazon has created an ecosystem. It's not one thing that makes the business special. It's the stuff that you provide around the business that makes the money. Right? And so in your business plan, you have to be big. I don't know the answer to that question, but you might want to think about it.
Okay, so we've covered off two key concepts. We've covered off SWOT analysis, great tool for you. We've covered off different ways of of how to make money, and you can think through that for your own business. The next step that we're going to talk about is actual goal setting and execution, and that goes back to my comment earlier about your business plan should be more about how you're going to how you're going to execute the business rather than why the business should be around. And we're going to walk you through a live presentation, and this was really well received I think a year or so ago when I showed this. So Don and I worked at a Ryerson startup called SpeechBobble, and we were both in sales. And at one point we had to give a sales plan to the company's board, and we're going to share with you. And we trust you not to spread this, but we're going to share with you that exact presentation. And what it will show you is how boards think, how judges think, obviously, and what these kinds of presentations, what these plans are like in the real world. This is just going to be the sales component of the business. But you can draw, when we look through it, you can probably draw some conclusions. And the structure is going to be, here's our objectives, and here's how we're going to do it. Okay, so I'm going to walk you through this. So this is real quick, high level to the board. Here's what our burn rate is today. Here's what our revenue rate is. Quick, very high level. We've got 5,000 users at a little bit over average, $5 charging. We're paying $5.71 a user a month. We set ourselves some objectives. We wanted $50,000 in revenue per month by a certain time, and then later on $100,000 in revenue, and then we moved on to here's how we're going to do it. $50,000. What $50,000 a monthly run rate required is we start dividing, splitting this into it's going to require 20 new clients to get there. To get 20 new clients, we need 200 opportunities. We have to talk to 200 companies if we're going to close 10% of them. And historically, we've been successfully closing 10% of the opportunities.
There's your basic math that you were forced to do in the first and second year at work. How many people do you have to talk to get 10 of them?
And these guys, the judges, guys, gals, are going to be doing this like this. They're going to be ahead of you. Yeah.
So that makes sense. It's great because you have those users, so you have those numbers.
Yeah.
But when you're concepting for launch testing, you don't have those users. Is it all guesstimation of what you think that percentage is going to be?
So a lot of it will depend on your product or service, okay? And then you should do a little bit of homework as to what people who you'll be competing with can do. And then you should take that and figure out you're going to have to do twice as much work as them.
Yeah. Now, just as an aside, something else I've observed from doing these competitions is that there's a tendency for students to deliver their product or service or information at a low cost. And that's the strategic differentiator that you're delivering to your marketplace. You want to be the lowest cost purveyor of whatever product and service. And I strongly suggest to you that you should rethink that. If you're thinking about being low cost, it is very difficult to compete on cost. And there are many ways of competing on adding extra value so that you can charge the same as your competition, or you can charge more than your competition. And I'm sure that you can think of many examples of companies that have started and delivered their product or service at a premium because of the package that they're delivering. Maybe it's trust. Maybe it's HP and Inc. and trust.
You know what? How many people here are taking economics? You've all taken economics? Have you heard of a Veblen good? You know what a Veblen good is? Well, actually, economics facts and look up Veblen good. How many What? No, it's a good that it's thought to be better because it's higher priced. VBLE, Veblen good. So Veblen good is one where people will pay extra to own it because they think it's better. Okay? Uggs, right? For guys, I don't know what guys wear, polo
Mugs.
shirts.
Mugs? I don't know.
No, I don't know. But okay, for girls, it's really, right? It's whatever your favorite shoe is, whatever your favorite purse is, whatever your favorite coat is. That's because they're no different than Sears stuff, except for it's fancier and it costs a lot more. So the point Steve's making is that frequently the most profitable businesses put out a Veblen good, a good that is made better because it's hard to get, a good that's made better because it's special. Okay, without actually delivering any extra value.
And that can be brand. It can be, it can be supported by brand. It could be, there's lots of ways. But try to resist that temptation to compete on lowest price. Very difficult to sustain a business on low price.
I'm going to bring out one more example that people will understand. We talked about awesome writers. Okay, or actually Bloomberg is a little easier. Bloomberg News, you guys can all go on the web and bring up www.bloomberg.com, and it's free, right? But when you graduate and you get your first job in business and you become a chartered accountant, or you become a CFA, or you become a CMA, your company is going to be paying $20,000 a month for that. Maybe $100,000 a month, depending what they want access to. But you get it for free on the web. Not the same information, just kind of the same stuff, right? The good stuff costs a lot of money. So even if you think that you have a low-cost solution, don't give it all away for nothing. Keep some of it and make sure people pay it. Make sure people pay it. Seriously.
Yeah, okay. So you can see, though, that we've kind of directed out, and not, real deep thinking, but just a high level. It gave our board confidence that we knew what we were talking about, that we had a plan. If we split up these 200 opportunities into direct sales and partner sales, which is what we had, and allocated some numbers to that. So what it meant was it forced us to ask the question, okay, how are we going to find 200 opportunities? If we know that we can close, pardon me? Yeah, how many phone calls is that going to be? What kind of marketing effort are we going to have to do? How many emails do we have to send out? That kind of analysis and going through the numbers forces you to think about the numbers and how you're going to do that. So, and when you start doing that, running these kinds of numbers, that thinking that you're doing is going to prepare you even better for your presentations and your business plan. It's going to answer all those questions that the judge was asking in that one slide. So then what we did was we split it up into, okay, so on the direct side, these are the markets that we're going to go after. There's 4 different groups that we're going to target. We can't target everybody. We got to be realistic. What are we going to go after? And there's just, and we can support, we could support each of those bullets. On the partner side, we had a plan. On the marketing side, 10 or so bullets, maybe 8 bullets there. These are the activities, very specific, concrete, and time-bound activities. On the product side, we did talk a little bit about the product. Here's what sales and marketing needs from the development people.
Is this coming together for you guys? Do you guys understand what we're going for?
Yeah. We put a headcount plan together, people plan together, and one of the interesting pieces of this is that we were asking for extra funding from the board, and there's 3 different alternatives. Option A, B, and C are 3 different investment plans. High, low, and high, medium, low. And we talked through the different, the value of each and what it meant, and they made decisions.
So let me take that one a little further. I used to work for a small software company in Toronto. They've long since...
It got smaller?
Really big, and it got really small. When I worked there were 14 employees, and they were looking for funding. Right? All of you guys are now experts at looking for funding. Right? You know how to ask the question, I want money to start my business. The CEO went to a funding group, and he said, I want $5 million so we can grow our business. And they really liked that. This was back in the heady days when money was easy to get. They really liked it. So they came back a week later and said, what would you do with $50 million? And so then we spent 2 weeks coming up with, oh my God, what would we do with $50 million? Same problem. Whether it's 5,000, 50,000, 500,000, 5 million, 50 million. What are you going to do with that money?
Yeah, great. So I'm just going to actually go through the structure of the slide again. I'm repeating these slides. So here's where we are today, our objectives. Here's some, we start trying to, think about historical numbers, or we start trying to spread that, or split up that 50K objective, split it into smaller pieces. Here's some actions, more actions, and some recommendations. So great structure. So, in your plan, set goals, quantify them, make them time-bound, and then start thinking about how you're going to achieve those. Okay.
Question on the slide of numbers. What does 1 and 0.5 represent?
Those are
Which one?
full-time equivalents.
Oh, the head count?
Yeah, head count.
Yeah.
Full-time equivalents, so people.
Yeah, so 0.5 is half a person.
So one person would be 2,000 hours of work a year, and half person would be 1,000 hours of work per year.
Yeah, we just needed their arms. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so that's a great number, right? 60.
Partly because I was often taking stuff out of the business. And that, for that option, I said, you know what, I don't need to be here. If we go down that path, I'm useless. So put that money elsewhere. Yeah, so that, and actually that brings up a really good point. Like your business plan, being a business leader, we have to touch sometimes and say, you don't need to be here. You're not providing value to this business. Right? In that case, I saw that I was less valuable than I should.
Okay, so let's move on in the interest of time. So now we've covered 3 different tools. We've covered SWOT analysis. We've covered different revenue models, and we've covered, a execution goals and objectives. So the final piece, the final section of our workshop is we're going to dive into financials and give you a little bit of additional insight from a business plan perspective, from the competition perspective of how you can leverage financials.
Okay, so how much time do we have left?
Probably negative 30 minutes.
Are we way over? Are you guys okay? If we don't have enough value, we'll take ourselves out of the equation.
Yeah, which is happening in Robin and our careers.
Yeah.
Put yourself on the mic.
Oh, thank you. So I am a bit of a finance guy. I play with numbers all day long because numbers like me, or I like numbers, whichever way you want to look at it. And I can talk forever. So I'm going to try and make this as short as possible, but feel free to ask questions and I'll answer questions as long as necessary. What I wanted to show you guys is that we've talked an awful lot about branding and business and so forth, but sometimes without real-world experience, and you brought it up already, without real-world experience, how do you link that back to what's actually going to happen? So we've got some business numbers that are relevant in the real world, and then we've got another workshop, if you guys have the time to stay and do one more workshop, that might be very relevant to what it is that you guys do. Okay? So let's take a look at some different business.
I'm sorry, I want to make a comment, kind of an intro comment. So the other thing about judges is they understand income statements. It's absolutely in their DNA. As soon as you start talking, as soon as they start reading your business plan, they're going to be thinking about this income statement. Everything in the business translates into an income statement and a balance sheet. We're going to look at income statements, but but this is how they think. They're going to, if you start talking about sales, they're thinking about revenue, they're thinking about cost of goods sold and how to and the expense of that and what the profit is. Like that's just, they're thinking that way. They're always analyzing it. What is the impact to the income statement?
Is this information publicly accessible?
Yeah. This is all, actually, one of the things I did is I pulled all of these from Q4 2011 numbers. So this stuff is all just came off. I just pulled it off on Friday. Friday. What's that? 2012? No, 2011 numbers. Except for actually, one of them reports it as 2012. But anyways, yeah, 2012 numbers. 2012 numbers. You're right. No, 2011. 2011, because 2012 just finished, except for one of these companies. I think Electronic Arts reports it as 2012. So yes, all this information is publicly available. All I want you to recognize here, I can go through each one of these companies for hours. Some of them I know extremely well, and some of them not so well. But Groupon, let's take a look at Groupon first. Does anybody, looking at this, as a finance person, do you guys see a problem? What's the problem? I see a yes. Negative operating income, right. Now, without a balance sheet, what does that tell you? Not much, right? Business can go forever. Take a look at Neurometrics. You see Neurometrics over there? Negative operating income. You know how long that business has been around? That business has been around for around 9 years. Okay? They have negative operating income, and they've had negative operating income for the last 4 years. I know because I'm a shareholder. It hurts. Okay? But Groupon is a new company, and they've got a negative operating income, and they're going to run out of money really fast, probably faster than Neurometrics. Okay? You can't run your business with negative operating income unless you do one thing, and what's that? What's that? Leverage, but that's a really bad option. What's the other thing you have to do? And you're going to need to be really good at it in the next 12 months if you're going to make your business work. What is it? Raising money, right? You've got to be able to raise money. Your business idea has to be so cool that people are going to keep giving you money to keep burning it through. Can you anybody give me an example of a good business, a typical business that does that? Anybody? 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 Biotech. Biotech. That's all they do is they spend money. Most biotech companies never make money, ever. Airlines. Airlines burn money like it was going out of style. Okay? That's what they do. But you picked up on it right away, right? Negative operating income. But it all starts it all starts right on marketing and SG&A line. They spend a ton of money selling and marketing their business, so much they spend more money selling and marketing their business than they actually make in revenue. That business cannot succeed like that. It just can't do it. Let's compare that to one that's very successful. Next one across, Electronic Arts. Okay? Electronic Arts makes money. How much? They're doing $4 billion a year in sales, and they made, last year, $35 million. $4 billion in sales, and all they made is $35 million. You know what? The shareholders are pretty happy about it, too. How much money does your business have to make? I don't know what that answer is, but your shareholders, as long as they're happy with you, it's a good number, just as long as it's positive. Okay? Neurometrics. I'm not going to go into this one too much unless there's lots of good questions, because it's a great one for questions. It's actually a business that is very similar to what you're trying to do. Look at their revenue numbers, $10 million. Okay? Whatever you're trying to do, it's similar to what they've done. It's a really good story to tell. Digital River, another. This is a software provider. I picked these businesses because they probably match what some of your ideas look like. Web-based business, computer games, a new device, something cool that's new, that's going to solve the world's problems, and a software provider. Okay? Very common upstart business models. Over here, they made 5% operating income. But now let's come back for a second. Forget about the individual businesses. Look at those percentages. Okay? You asked me earlier, how do you know what percentage? How do you know what the numbers look like? Well, guys like me know what the numbers look like. Okay? You tell me a business, I can tell you approximately what their operating income should look like. I can tell you approximately how much money they should spend on sales and marketing. I can tell you approximately what their cost of goods should be. Okay? For a typical business. Because the guys who do this for a living, that's all they do is they look through these numbers. So let's take a look at, well, Groupon's a really bad example. Let's take a look at Electronic Arts. Cost of revenue is 39%. Okay? For a software business, that's pretty good. It's usually 20 to 50% would be a good number in there. And your operating income should be much higher. Why isn't their operating income much higher? We could go on for hours talking about why, but I can tell you that R&D is their biggest outlier. 29% R&D for a software games company. A little high. Probably closer to 18 to 20 would probably be good. Okay. Digital River. This is a basic software company. This is hardcore, under the covers, important stuff that everybody has to have. Okay. Security primarily. Okay. So look at their cost of revenue, 16%. Compare that to cost of revenue for Electronic Arts. Have you ever heard of Digital River before? Have you ever heard of Electronic Arts before? What do you think the difference in the cost of goods sold is? Marketing, right? They probably have an awful lot of people out there talking. They actually identify in their income statement that a lot of that money goes to professional athletes. Okay, so I don't remember what I didn't even look at the percentage, but a lot of it goes to professional athletes. Okay, so Digital River has a much lower cost of goods sold, much more profitable company, but their sales are a lot lower, but they actually made almost as much. No, millions, 20 million versus 35 million. That's 20 million, not 20 billion. So, sorry, messed that up. But they're almost as profitable, but they do 10% of the sales. Which business is better? I'll take this business any day. Any day, right? Percentages are the point that I wanted to get across to you in this conversation. Okay, the percentages are the point that you're going to have to manage these percentages so that they fall in line with whatever your business is, and you need to understand what kinds of numbers you should come up with. Okay, so I'm going to stop talking about it. I have, if you guys want to break up into groups again, I have three. Let me go to my spreadsheet.
So
you talk.
A classic example in your business plan is going to be when you throw out a revenue number, you say, I'm going to make this much revenue in the first year 2 or whatever, and then the judges are going to challenge you. Well, under what expenses? How much is it going to cost you to deliver that revenue? Can you make a profit? You can justify it. That's good.
Okay, so I've created a new corporation called Railroads R Us, and we sell railroad bits. Okay, and we're projecting that there's going to be $1 million in revenue. It's going to cost us $700,000 for our steel and all that other stuff that we have to have. We're going to make $300,000 gross income. And again, notice how simple this accounting statement is. Yours might be a lot more complicated, or it might be just as simple. I don't know the answer to that question, but it's simple because I want you to think about this in a very simple way. 4 things. You've got staff, you've got marketing, you've got facilities, and you've got travel expenses. Those are your total operating expenses. I'm going out and I'm telling my shareholder or shareholders that I'm going to make a 9% return on $1 million in sales if they just give me $500,000 in money. Okay? Oops. You're halfway through the first year and your actuals have come in. Team 1, you only got 80% of revenue. What are you going to change? Team 2, you got, oh, sorry, what did I do here? Oh, good news. Team 2, sales went up by 50% over that. You've got 1.5 million in revenue. Uh-oh. There's going to be other problems. What are they? Figure out how to fix your business. Okay? Team 3, over here, you guys are very successful as well, but you need to build a sales team because you're so successful. What are you going to change? Okay, so I've gone out and I've told my shareholders that I'm going to bring in $1 million in revenue and I'm going to make a $90,000 profit. But midway through my first year, something changed, and now I want to solve that problem. The problem that you have is that your product looks like it's going to be a huge success, so you want to spend $1 million, sorry, 200 grand process. What did we give you again?
We're only making
80% of revenue. Okay, so you guys want to pay attention to? Don't worry about it. We'll just all talk as a group. So 80% of revenue. So we gave them the problem that revenue is going to come in at, I'm not going to do this on the spreadsheet. We'll just talk about it. So revenue is only going to come in at 80%. What's going to have to change about your business?
Well, our first thing is we got $30,000 going into radio and newspaper.
Yep.
And that's just not viable anymore.
Okay, so you're spending a lot of money here on marketing, and if sales are dropping below what your expectation is, you're going to stop marketing.
We're going to switch it. Google's only getting $3,000.
Okay.
Radio and television, the radio and
Okay. Okay.
We're short 18,000 because that's 20%.
So again, without working on the spreadsheet, what on your spreadsheet, what does it show as profitability with the actuals?
We're expecting 90,000.
A loss of 90,000, right? No, we've promised 90, but if sales are down by 20%, there should be a column over here that says what your actual is.
Total operating?
Yeah.
Total operating expenses is 210. That's 210. Net income is 30,000.
Okay, let's not worry about it too much. But the point is you're going to be working at a loss, right? You're going to be working at a loss. So is cutting out $30,000 going to bring you back to a profit? What happens if you cut out your all of your marketing? What happens to your sales? Do they continue to go down? Right. So I'm not saying what the right answer is because you know what? I don't know what the right answer is. You're not going to know what the right answer is either.
We definitely put the money in Google.
You're going to okay. So you're going to rely on that to be successful with your marketing, which is maybe a perfectly good answer. Yeah, right. What other options would there be? Anybody else? What other options if sales are down by 20%? What other options could there be? Everybody's got basically the same spreadsheet. So what else could you do if your sales are down by 20%? Yeah, you could market more, right? Good option. What else? Another option? Sales staff, or you could get rid of staff, right? You could say, well, you know what, I can't afford to hire all these people anymore. What else could you do? Any other options? Yeah, at $1 million, you probably don't have a lot of excess office space, right? But yes, shrinking is one of the options. One of the other things is to mess with the quality of your goods, right? Right? You could reduce your cost of goods.
Can you do that with a relay?
Yeah, you could use cheaper steel. You might be out of business very quickly, yes. Right? Take it away from Railroads R Us and move this to your business plan. And what happens, let me tell you, I don't know if anybody listened to the introduction. I used to have a pizza shop. I bought it from the guy who was going bankrupt. And you know why he was going bankrupt? He had to be home to watch SportsCenter at midnight, and he started cutting back on the cheese that he put on his pizza. It took me about 3 weeks to realize why people weren't coming through the door anymore. Guess what I did? We don't close. I was in a university town. He closed at 12 o'clock every night. You know what time I closed when I had mine?
4.
I was lucky to be home at 4 on a weekend. I was lucky to be home at 4. You guys haven't even finished smoking your dope at 4.
24 hours.
No, seriously. I know how you live. Right? No, I'd frequently on a Saturday or Sunday be getting home at 6:30 in the morning. And there was lots of cheese on every pizza. Right? I was paid off that business in less than 8 months. Okay, so messing with the product quality can put you out of business. It can also keep you in business. Can you give me an example of a business that messes with product quality frequently? Come on, you guys use it probably every day. No. Tim's? Anybody go to coffee every morning? Their product is getting worse and worse and worse by the year. Right? What's that? It's extremely subjective because you know what's happening with their share price? It's going up and up and up and up and up. Right? But it's very subjective, absolutely, and that's why they can mess with it. Microsoft, good. It's a perfect example. Perfect example. Yeah. Okay, so good. There's no right answer here. There's no right answer, but you've gone through the process of thinking about it. When you're doing your business plans to present them, go through the process. Well, what would happen if I had lower revenue? What would happen if I added more people? What would happen if I got my product made in China? What would happen? What would happen? Come up with some of these ideas because those are the kinds of questions you're going to get hit with. Okay, so you guys have the best of all worlds. Sales are up 50% over plan. These are good problems to have, but they remain problems. What kind of things are you going to change about your business? Yep.
And they're getting paid a lot less to get expected and don't want to be more transfer the production really on. So
good.
You can increase their salaries or pay them a bonus?
Well, you know what a bonus does is it reduces your long-term costs. Right? But you know another option there? Hire more people. Hey, everybody gets 2 weeks more off, but we're going to bring in somebody else. Right? Because it's easy to fire one person when things don't turn out the same next year than it is to try and take away all that money that you've been giving away. Right? So, but good options. What other options might you have? Right? Yep. Well, that's an interesting thing because we've only given you the revenue statement, right? The income statement, but now you're talking about balance sheet too, right? So let's say that you decide, well, this is really taking off, so now I'm going to build a warehouse. You're probably going to have to take on some debt load. You're probably going to have to hire some employees and whatever. So now you're really on the treadmill, but it's good. It's a good problem to have, right? Very good. Okay, I'm going to leave it there and go over to these guys. And I gave you guys the hardest one. What did you come up with? These guys, just so in case you missed it, theirs is even more wide open, which is you guys have to hire a sales team. By the way, hiring a sales force is the most expensive thing you'll ever do in business because there's no absolute return on investment. It's all money up front, and there's no guarantee you're going to get anything back from it. So you guys have had to go out and hire a sales team. What are you going to change about your business?
So basically, we said we were going to hire 2 more staff to staff this new team.
Okay. So the support staff, you mean? Like maybe if you were in pre-sale, maybe if you were in software, you'd have a pre-sales person and an account management person or a warranty support person or something? Order entry. Yep. Okay.
Then we were going to, we have to facilitate the new people with offices. So we just kind of look at people and add it.
Okay.
And then we just added up, we said there was going to be 2 more sales reps in the next year, and the rest went to greater ads and newspaper ads.
Perfect. Okay, so you spent a bunch of money now.
The key thing is building a CRM system. If we don't have it right now. So
Very, very interesting. That's a really good point, right? So now you're trying to control the most important part of a sales organization. What's the most important part of a sales organization? The information, right? You're paying people to go out every day and talk to people. You want to know what it is they're learning. You want to know who it is they're talking to. It's a battle. Both of us sales guys, we fought this battle for years. We know the battle. We understand it. So yeah, it's excessively important. Very good. Very good. Okay, so the one thing I'm going to draw one picture on the whiteboard before I give it back to Steve for closing, and then we'll do questions as long as you want. But a very important one for you guys, and all of you in general, but to your point, to the point of your question, is very important. Okay, there are 4 groups that you have to worry about. You have to worry about your users, right? You have to worry about your suppliers. Oh, thank you. Okay, this is your users or customers. Your suppliers, your shareholders, and your staff. This is your ecosystem. If you're going to grow your business by $200,000, or sorry, if you're going to spend $200,000 to grow your business, the one group that you have to make sure that that's okay with is this person or people. Right? You've got to make sure that these people all buy in. The reason this is so important is because that no matter where you go with any of these ideas, somebody here is going to get hurt. You grew your business by 50%, and your solution for these guys was a raise or a bonus, right? But 50% increase in sales, maybe you need more people. If you put the money into your staff, your shareholders aren't going to get any of that money. Right? So are you meeting your profitability number here to make sure that this group is happy while you keep these guys happy? Right? Can you squeeze your suppliers to try and extract some money out of them because your sales are down? Anybody here ever hear about doing business with Walmart? Right? They put people out of business, they squeeze them so hard. It's crazy. So all 4 of these groups, this is, when you walk home, you've learned a lot of, hopefully you've learned a lot of stuff here. Put that at the top of your business plan before you hand it in, not when you hand it in, but as you're thinking about your business, put those 4 boxes at the top and think, who's impacted by everything I've just said? Whether you're talking about sales, marketing, whatever, those guys all matter. Okay, I'm done talking, Steve. It's up to you now. And we'll stay around for questions, too, when Steve's finished closing.
Key concepts to think about things. 4 key concepts to think about. And you've been very gracious and patient with us, given how much time we've gone over. I'm going to leave you with one last piece of advice, a small piece of advice. This is very tactical, but at Queen's I was very impressed with some of the teams that when they got to the Q&A section of their presentation, they had a slide that had hyperlinks to other slides. And I just did a hyperlink to the agenda items in my own slide. So, I can click. So the hyperlink allows me to click to, right, execution, right? So you could either hyperlink to your presentation or you could hyperlink to backup slides. Knowing that you're going to expect deeper questions, just have a page with 20 hyperlinks, all to specific, that you haven't presented yet. All going to slides that you're predicting the judges are going to ask you about. Oh, I got a slide on that, and it's there. Instead of having a couple of the teams were fussing with, I'm going to go back to slide 22 of my 44 slide deck, right? Just hyperlink a bunch and get it ready. Nice little piece of preparation for you. And it allows you to focus on answering the question and not fiddling with your slides. Just a little one. Okay, so if you want to get in touch with us, you see I'm now a couple of books. We can give you this slide. These are some of my favorite business books. If you're going to pick one, pick Dale Carnegie. I'll show this slide again. Here's the ways you can get a hold of us. I'll leave that up. Let's close off. We'll stick around for some questions. For those of you who want to leave, you've been again gracious, and thank you very much. And if those of you want to stick around and ask us some more questions, we'd be happy to answer and stick around for some time. And I'm going to just go back if you've got that information. Oh, that's just to that slide, so you just can see that slide. Thanks so much. Awesome. Is that good? That's an approval? That sounds approval. That was the best?
That was